technically isn't also, or endocytosis by postsynaptic neurons also a way that maybe I'm like thinking too hard about it, but that's technically also a way that neurotransmitters are cleared.
Yeah, I think you're thinking too hard about it. So this one, clearly in the slide, this one uptake through transport proteins by the presynaptic neuron. That would be more specific. And then diffusion is clearly stated. This one is not stated and is not something that happens.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
And I have a million more other questions, but I'll let other people.
All right. Anybody else want to jump in?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I haven't opened it up, so I don't have, I just finished watching both lectures again yesterday, so.
Which is just fine. Clara, I think it's your show for the moment.
Okay. So yeah, I guess I'm a little bit confused. Like your lecture was awesome, but I think part of it was
It's okay. I understand pets now. They don't understand Zoom. They're like, wait, we want to say hello.
Yeah, I guess I should just watch your graded potentials, action potentials, but maybe that's because that's the next question that I'm looking at, and comparing the graded potentials and action potentials. Graded, well, I put that graded potentials occur in the dendrites, occur in the axon.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So for those of you who haven't checked it out, there's I posted this morning because a few of you were asking questions about graded versus action potentials. And there's this question here that says, when comparing graded potentials and action potentials, there's a, I don't know, 10, 15 minute video now that talks more about graded versus action potentials. But the big picture is, well, let's look at that for a second. Where? No. There we go. This will be helpful. So when we think about graded versus action potentials, graded potentials are always happening within the dendrites, and they get stimulated when a neurotransmitter is released from the end of an axon, and some kind of ligand receptor binds to that neurotransmitter, and that changes the resting potential here. It either depolarizes it or hyperpolarizes it. If it's excitatory, it's going to depolarize the dendrite. If it's inhibitory, it's going to hyperpolarize the membrane potential of the dendrite. But that would be a graded potential. And graded potentials only work over short distances. They degrade really quickly because there are no voltage gated channels in the dendrites. And so there's nothing that's going to propagate that from one section to the next. So your graded potentials happen in the dendrites, and then they travel short distances to the axon hillock. That's where that summation of all those graded potentials is happening. And then here, depending on what happens at that axon hillock, if we go over the threshold, then an action potential can move down the axon. And that is, those can go really far, like from the base of your spine all the way down to your big toe through an axon, because they self-propagate, because they have these voltage-gated ion channels, which as soon as the membrane potential changes in one spot, it's going to cause that positive feedback loop of causing the next ones to open, and that propagates that change in the membrane potential. So what that short video talks about is that, and we spend some time with this slide here. So this slide is showing a dendrite, which is essentially a graded potential. So this graded potential here just kind of diffuses over a short distance. There's nothing that repropagates the potential, versus in the axon, whether it's unmyelinated or myelinated, you have an action potential moving down the axon, and it self-propagates because of these voltage-gated ion channels that reboost the change in the membrane potential, or reboost that depolarization. And in the case where it's myelinated, it's going to go faster because of that saltatory conduction. So at the end, that action potential is what eventually tells the neurotransmitters to be released in the synapse, which then will in turn will cause a graded potential in the dendrites. Any questions about that?
I just realized I did the test early.
Pros and cons to that.
Yeah, oh well.
When it says an action potential is generated when threshold is at which time, so it would be when needed sodium channels open. I don't know why this is hard for me to grasp.
Sorry, Clara, you broke up a little bit. So what does threshold mean? Is that your question?
Yeah, I'm just confused. I think I just need
Okay, it's neurophysiology. It's brain science. It is confusing. So let me see if I can find. Okay, so this graph, right, is symbolizing what's happening to the membrane potential inside of our neurons. Let me try and do some. I feel so crippled that I can't draw properly. It drives me crazy. Okay. So if we've got our neuron and it has an axon, woo, yes, okay. Then when we start at resting potential, it's more negative on the inside. So I'm gonna do this. And it's more positive on the outside, right? And that's that resting membrane potential is kept by the sodium potassium pumps, as well as the leaky ion channels that are just open all the time. So that's just facilitated diffusion of the sodium and the potassium moving around. Versus in addition to those just leaky channels that are all over the membrane, in the axon, oh, I just lost my, where are you? Oh, there you are, okay. Versus in the axon, you also have those voltage gated channels that only open when there's a flip or a change in the membrane potential. So that's what, like, oh, I need to open up. What causes me to open up? A change in the voltage. And there has to be, there I am. Sorry, I can't, who designed this? I should be able to see my mouse. All right, so this is, right, that threshold potential, meaning that it has to go from -70 to -55. In other words, there have to be enough sodium ions rushing into the axon to get above the threshold. Once you get above the threshold, then that's enough of a change in the membrane potential or enough change in the charge that it causes all the other voltage gated sodium channels to open up. And that's what I mean when it says it's a positive feedback loop or self-propagating, that once it gets above, pointing with my finger, that's really, see? Let me see if I can get my mouse back. Where am I? Here I am. Okay. So once it gets above this threshold, then it's going to cause all the other sodium ion channels that are dependent upon a change in voltage to open up. Did I answer your question, Clara?
There's just a lot, and yeah, I don't know. I think I just need to rewatch the lecture. I watched it once, but I think there's a lot, so I need to go back and.
Yeah, I think it's a lot to keep track of, and I think it's also helpful to watch those AP flicks. Are really nice on mastering A and P. Those that where it talks about the resting membrane potential and then starting an action potential and propagating an action potential, that really helps move my brain along in understanding it. So maybe watch those again, and then if it's still squishy, let's check in again. How's the Bay Area, Brad?
The bridge is nice.
Yeah, I bet it's not very busy today.
That's funny. I forgot I put that on there, but you know what? One of these days, I'll just put my real room behind me so you can see that.
We can see
Yeah.
that. So, I do have a green wall in my living room, and there might be a little surprise for you when you look at the, I did a pre-lab video for the muscular system, because some of you have been like, man, that would help to have a bigger idea of, is that a puppy? It is a puppy. Sorry.
This one?
Yeah.
She's an old dog.
She's just
Oh.
a tiny one.
She looks teeny. Anyway, so there's a little surprise for that. But more importantly, for your muscular labs that just got launched yesterday for the muscular system, I made a pre-lab video that kind of explains the big concepts you'll be learning about and how to make some connections in those labs. And then I'm hoping today or tomorrow to get the muscular system lecture up and running. It's been very busy with meetings with the college the past couple days as they're trying to make sense of this and move forward.
Yeah, I see that there's, I registered for summer classes and like statistics, for example, was on there and I'm in the class. My class schedule shows that, but now it's not on the class search anymore. So it seems a little chaotic. I thought it's probably because some instructors are choosing maybe not to teach the course online, or.
I think so. I think everybody's kind of sorting things out. So give it a week and I think things will settle back down. Were you taking it with Lana Von Epps or?
Yeah.
I haven't talked to her directly, but I imagine she's planning on teaching it. And I think it's just a matter of them trying to get the schedule totally worked out. So I could actually text her and we could get an answer soon, but I don't know where.
That would be awesome.
Let me go get
Because it's hard to know if you should.
I talked to her the other day, Stacy. I think she's going to do it online. I'm pretty sure.
What about the chemistry, you guys? Because the chemistry is online too, but there's a lab with that, and they're offering the lab online too.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. That's what I want to take too.
Yeah, if it's online, I mean, we should all do it. But like, would that count for the, transferring?
Mike said that on your transcript, it doesn't even say that it was taken online. So.
Oh, that's a valid point.
My micro professor, he's on like the board or something.
So we can knock out chemistry online over summer too.
If it stays though, I've also heard that they might go back in person. So because that class doesn't start till June.
Yeah, as of now though, it says it's like they're all online.
Yeah.
So.
All right, I was gonna just call her, but I'll text her and see if she texts back while we're together. She might be in class.
You know, Jamie's gonna teach chemistry. So pick your brain.
I think she is. I think it's not he. She. Bleh, gendered. Okay. I think Jamie is gonna teach.
Online.
He. Just a second. I can't multitask. My students zooming with me. Zombies. That's kind of fun. you are teaching stats. I would be very, very surprised if she doesn't do it, but I'll keep that right there. And I know we had, I saw Jamie through Zoom yesterday, and he's all on board to teach chemistry this summer.
Right.
How is that going to work with his lab? Like that goes online as well, but is that going to count for transfer as being?
Yep. We're still in that mode. So we've gotten official word from the CSUs and the UCs that everything this semester will count, and we're working on the same thing being true for the summer, that it will full count. Let me pause for a second.
NISA just announced that the state will be making an announcement tomorrow from the superintendent of schools on the California level to just make a statement across California on what's going to happen for this school year.
Oh,
As far as, so I don't know if Shotney made an announcement
Okay.
yet, but
And
tomorrow
that's-
there'll be a statewide.
that's K-12 and the university systems.
Everything.
Lisa's my
News update.
roving reporter. I don't know if you're able to hear that, but Gavin Newsom said that tomorrow they're making a big announcement about the state of schools in the state of California and what's going to happen, both K-12 and universities and community colleges. So we'll see what that statement is about. But I would trust that whatever happens for online labs this summer will count fully on your transcripts. I think everybody's being really flexible and patient with each other with that kind of paperwork, and we wouldn't offer it if that wasn't the case. So labs will be virtual. I know Jamie's working on, we just got, as a state, there is this thing called Labster, which has a bunch of different labs, it's virtual labs. There's lots of chemistry stuff. We just got access to it. And there's actually an immune system lab that we might try, because I'm interested to see what you guys think of little Labster relative to our Physio X simulations. But there are lots of chemistry simulations, and he'll probably do some demos and things like that. And then
you didn't have to wear protective clothing.
Right.
Over the summer, flip-flops
Right.
and shorts.
Come to lab in your flip-flops. And the other thought is maybe possibly making it so if by towards the middle or the end of the summer, there's a relaxation on the social distancing, that there may be an option to continue the class more face-to-face. So we're also looking at that as well, that it starts completely online, and then if students are able to with their schedules come face-to-face, that might be an option if that's possible. But we're all right, still scrambling to figure this out. We also talked a little bit about graduation yesterday. There will not be a face-to-face graduation, but we're trying to figure out if there's a way to do a virtual graduation through Zoom, or an option that if you're graduating this spring, that you can choose to walk next spring. And we might do a mix of those two, but those conversations are just starting to happen.
So if you sign up for 2 classes over the summer and they are online, which enables you to do them both,
Mm-hmm.
and they go on site, is that going to be I wonder how that's going to work out. They wouldn't be for.
Yeah, I think they would have to work that out. And I think as they talk about that, they're going to have to realize that they're going to have to be really flexible, that you can't start something online and then force someone to come face to face, because that might not work with their work schedule or another class they're taking. So I hope I will insist, as those conversations happen, that we're aware of that you can't halfway through the summer ask someone to totally change their life schedule or put their classes in conflict with each other. Yeah, that's a great point.
Because if there's nothing else to do, taking Kim and stats at one time is not a big deal. But if all of a
Doing
sudden,
it, Stace.
What, Cynthia?
We are doing it. Everyone, we're doing it.
I need the little guy.
It'll be Team Online 2020. And it might be that you take chemistry the first chunk of the summer and then stats the second chunk of the summer.
Well, they conflict. Like they don't stack like that.
Oh, in the 7-week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be cool if that worked that way, but stats doesn't start till the end of June, and I think chemistry also starts middle June. Like it starts first and then stats and then
Got it.
anyway.
Cool. Any other logistical questions? State of things?
Just wanted to say hi real quick and I miss you all. I don't know if I'm being heard or not.
We can hear you.
We can't hear you.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi.
Erica.
Hi.
Hey.
Miss you.
Miss you. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
It took me 20 minutes to figure out this thing, so.
Congratulations. James
Thanks.
is helping our serotonin levels by showing us puppies.
He's the last.
Oh.
He's the last one. The other siblings went today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What kind of puppy?
They're lab pit bull and something. I don't know. His brother was really big for 7 weeks, so I don't know. And he has blue eyes and like a long gray coat. So I don't know. I think it's like
Aw.
it might be like Pyrenees or something. I don't know. He's gonna be huge.
Aw, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yep. But if we we give him up Thursday and then we're done. He's the last one.
Okay. Okay. Aw.
So back to 8 hours of sleep.
There you go.
Important for immune system. Speaking of, in case you have not aware of prior announcements, I've lost track of where and what I've said, but the class did vote to learn about the immune system in lieu of special senses. And I did talk to Laureen Campana, our healthcare coordinator, and so she will be coming to class on Thursday of next week, which I think is April 8th. Anyway, that Thursday. Yeah, April 9th. She'll come to class and we'll do a Q&A, and she's going to talk a little bit about if you've heard about cytokine storms in relative to what's causing the really severe symptoms with coronavirus, and then also some suggestions about herbal remedies. There are some that should actually be really avoided with this virus, and then she might have some recommendations about what might be useful. Yeah, so that will be part of our immune system, which will get launched next week. And I do have at the end of this week's the neurophysiology assessment. Your last question is basically tell me something you want to learn about the immune system. So I'm looking at that and trying to incorporate those questions and ideas. Okay. So back to it. Any questions brewing about neurophysiology?
Yeah, like on 26 for the assessment, just on the membrane potential aspect of it.
Yeah.
Is that basically how we're talking about those? Just basically the act there, what's taking place at the membrane as the the ligand gated channels open and all that good stuff, like on your nicotonic receptors on your muscles. And
James, will you, just so I know where we're all at, will you read the beginning of the question to me so I can
absolutely
find
one
it?
second. It's the written question, the different effects of neurotransmitter of acetylcholine and
the last
voluntary muscle. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So here we are. So got it. So what's your question?
Well, when it comes to the membrane potential, I'm just kind of wondering, I mean, I know when that takes place, but you're just talking about maybe which effect is a greater has the greater membrane potential?
So the dendrite starts at resting membrane potential. So
Yes.
I guess what I'm asking is where would you have repolarization? Where would you have hyperpolarization?
Got
So
it.
yeah, right. So because of those two, depolarization,
Polarization.
hyperpolarization. So depolarization, is that going to be excitatory or inhibitory?
Got it. Thank you very much. That's perfect.
Yeah, and likewise, is hyperpolarization excitatory or inhibitory? That's what I want you to talk about there.
Okay, cool. That was about that, yeah.
Thanks. Anybody else want to talk about this question anymore, or details, or?
My name is Coleman. I work in the foundation.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to get ahead of the gun this week and goof
Good
around
job.
all weekend.
Good job. It's not easy.
No, it's not.
Yeah, there was a question in there that's like, I know I picked it because it repeats action potential in action potentials. I wonder if that is a typo.
It is. I fixed it. So that's also in that's that graded.
That's the graded one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I fixed it when comparing graded potentials and action potentials, and that's also in that short video that I posted today. This used to say graded potentials occur in dendrites, action potentials occur in action potentials, and it should have been axons. Yeah, so whoops. But that has been fixed. But if you've already started your assessment, then you won't necessarily see that fix. So just be aware that when you read that question, and it might not be question number 13 for you, but when you read when comparing graded potentials and action potentials, this should say action potentials occur in axons, not action potentials occur in action potentials. Any other questions?
I'll show you my puppy.
That is a good face. All right, I'm gonna pause our recording, and then if this news just in, if you're still watching, I just got a text from Lana Von Epps, and the question was, is stats going to be offered online during the summer? And she says that's the plan, and it will happen. So that's the news from Lake Wobegon.
Are they planning for, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know. Were you, okay. Are they planning for all classes to go like all summer long? Is that kind of, they're not opening campus for the summer then?
The initial plan is to have all classes totally online for the entire summer. There was some discussion yesterday, like, well, what if the social isolation restrictions lift? What happens? And I think that's something we're still trying to figure out. But one of the options would be like, well, what if we get halfway through the semester and they could meet? Can we have the option where if you can, you come into class and meet with the class, but I would imagine that those would all still be recorded and put online, because not everybody's going to be able to do that, because you've set up your life as an online student, not as a
right
face-to-face student.
So just be prepared for it to be online, basically.
Yeah. Right now, we're planning on everything online.
Indeed.
Yeah. And I just want to reiterate that your quizzes, you can go back into, let's say, like I was working on this quiz, I decide to leave it. It asked me, do you really want to leave? I'm going to say, okay. And then I go back to the quiz and go back to that assessment that I was working on. And what it will say is resume quiz. So don't worry about walking away from your Canvas quizzes and coming back. It'll save it for you.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions before I hit the pause? The other announcement is that there are still laptops and hotspots available from campus. So if you are dealing with a computer that just isn't compliant with learning online, or you don't have a laptop, we do have some that are for loan for students who are in need to finish the semester. So if that's the case, email me, talk to me, and I can put you on the list, and then people at the college will get a hold of you and you'll be able to get a laptop. And I think they also still have some hotspots available. So there's help available if you need it. All right. So the question was, if I put a comment, if I give you a comment on one of your assignments, where can you find it? And the answer is, Stacy?
After each, like right to the right-hand side of your grade on each assignment.
Okay. So if my score
would
right
be a
here.
little, no, it would be on the other side of your score.
Oh, over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pointing like you can see. There'll be like a little paper. It looks like a little piece of paper or something. And when you click on it, it will pop up in your comment.
Awesome.
Or on mine, it showed up in my email for that you had, because I have it set that I get an email for everything.
Yeah.
I got an email alert too, but it didn't say what the comment was. It just said that I got a comment. So then I just didn't know how to find it in Canvas. So that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, I think another place that you can find it is if you go into assignments and like the exact assignment that were, I don't know, made changes on, it should have a little area that makes room for comments. I don't know, like after you submit it and stuff, there should be.
It might show up here. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it shows all the way on the right, you know, where there's like the little ticker that shows what's upcoming or due.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes some of my, it's right there as well.
Okay.
Around here.
Way off to the right under like
over here.
Any updates or any new changes or anything that's posted or anything that's changed into your personal assignments.
Okay.
It should be there somewhere off to the side.
So will the what we actually got wrong, will that ever open up, or is that a closed thing?
Let's have that chat. It's closed now, in part because I just don't know if I'm gonna ever use this stuff again. But I think that might be useful for you to know, just for feedback. So
well, like, so
like it to be
know
open,
that
let me ask that.
there was a conversation about on the diagram of the juxtaglomerular complex.
Yeah.
And like in some diagrams that it's opened up, so the distal convoluted tubule
is way over here.
Is way over here, but in some others, because it says that it's near the afferent arteriole and the efferent.
Yeah.
Well, in that diagram, it is not near it. But then there's some other diagrams that you can find where it's kind of folded over and it is near it. So there's some confusion as to, so it's just like, was it C? Was it the distal convoluted?
I can open those up. I think that would be fair for you, because any other time, right, you'd be able to see the exam and your responses. So I'll open it up.
And know like where you were wrong in your research, like.
Yeah, I think that'd be valuable.
Because you've been very, very, very good at creating thought and research and reading, and not just finding an answer, because there isn't really just an answer. You have to really understand and clever teacher.
Yeah, I'll open it up so you guys can see that. I think that's a good request. I'll do that. Anything else? And thanks for asking.